Well, we have finished dealing with the Senate bills. Each year, each side has their own set of bills. We consider those bills, debate those bills, and then pass them to the other side. And then the process starts over, debating the bills and considering which ones to pass. So today is the deadline for us to consider the Senate bills that were sent to us. We've completed that process. Now we're about to go into the appropriations process, where we will do the budget. And earlier this week on Monday, we revised the revenue estimate. That's what we call the big number. The big number tells us how much money we have to spend, and then we start dividing that money up, giving it to the various agencies, hopefully meeting the various needs. That process will begin today, because we put those bills into conference today. Anytime we don't agree, the House and Senate pass a bill, they both want to do something on an issue, but they don't agree necessarily, we call that going to conference. And that's where the Lieutenant Governor puts up 3 senators, the Speaker nominates 3 House members, and those individuals sit in a room and they try to hammer out the differences. If they come to an agreement, then they produce what's called a conference report. That's returned to both sides for consideration. That is how the budget is done. We pass the budgets on the different agencies. Clearly, we have to know what the number is, how much money we have to spend, and then decisions will be made as to how much money to put in the various agencies. That information will be brought back to the House and the Senate, and we'll both vote on them and decide what the budget is. And so that process has started. I would like to be done by the end of next week. Now, there's no deadline that we have to be done by next week, but I think all of us are ready to get the work done and get home. So hopefully over the weekend, the budget can be put together. We'll continue the process of considering the general bills as well. And then, of course, there's the CARES Act money, which we are going to debate and discuss on how to spend that. So that's kind of what we have. That's kind of the roadmap for the rest of the session, what we have left to do. Probably not be here over the weekend. Now, I'm going to encourage my members to work over the weekend. I'm going to encourage them to go ahead and start talking with their counterparts on the Senate end and trying to hammer out the differences, but we're not going to have the House members here during this weekend. Well, we have forewarned them some time ago. Delbert Hoseman and I wrote a letter to all the agencies we're in. We told them this is going to be a different year. The COVID crisis has caused revenues to be down. We had no idea how much they were going to be down. Before the crisis hit, we were in great financial shape. We were probably $200 million over our estimate. So we had an additional $200 million, if you will, that we didn't expect to have, which is great. But then the crisis hit, and in 1 month, in the month of April, all that was wiped out. So now we're in a position where our fiscal year ends on June 30th, which is about 13 days from today, and we're going to be about $50 million short. We're not real sure just yet, but projections are we're going to be about $50 million short. So we'll have to fill that gap for the rest of this year. And then looking forward to the next fiscal year, we're probably going to be somewhere between 3 and 5% cuts. Now, early on, people were projecting 10 and 12% cuts. So I think most agencies are thrilled with the news that the cuts are going to be much less than anticipated. But nevertheless, there will have to be cuts. We're going to have less money to work with than we thought we were. Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. I think we need to push forward as much money as possible. The good news is, as I just said, the shortfall that we're going to have this year is projected to be $47 million. So that's around $50 million. Under the law, we can take, the governor can take up to $50 million and put it into the previous fiscal year and make the budget, make the books balance, make it level, if you will. So that's an easy remedy. That's an easy way to fix 20. And then we're going to need the money moving forward into 21. As I said, we're going to have to implement some cuts. If we don't have that revenue in 21, the cuts are going to be much deeper. And I've already said they're probably going to be somewhere between 3 and 5%. If we don't have that revenue, they could be upwards of 7, 8, 9%, which could be really hard on those agencies in a 1 year cut like that. So I think that the more prudent approach, and everybody that I have talked to believes that to be the case, and on the House side and the Senate side. I have asked them, Is it better for the legislature? Is it better for the state budget? And is it better for our citizens to push that money into 21 or to put it back into 20? And every one of them has said the best approach is to push it into 21. Have not had anybody disagree with that. Well, the number one issue for us has been the human trafficking bill. This is something that's very important not only to a lot of people in this state, but it's very important to us as House members and Senate members. I think I've talked to quite a few who believe that is something we need to work on. Human trafficking is a prevalent problem in the state of Mississippi and all across this nation. I had no idea until a couple years ago when my eyes were opened and I saw just how prevalent this is. And we have people who are abusing young women and in some cases young boys and prostituting them out. And this is a scourge on our state that needs to stop. Now, 2 years ago, or maybe it was last year, we passed House Bill 571, and I view this as kind of two halves, if you will. The first half is how do we stop the bad guys? We have to have strong law enforcement, strong penalties for these people. We have to give law enforcement the tools they need to catch these people. And we did that with 571. That was a year ago. Now, we're wanting to do the second half, which is what do we do with the young ladies when we rescue them? They need help. They need counseling. They need food, shelter, clothes, possibly medical treatment. We want to take care of them after we have rescued them. And that's what House Bill 1559 is all about. We're trying to set up a mechanism, set up a system where the young ladies can be taken care of. And this bill has been thoroughly vetted. We had a summit on it. This has been looked at by a lot of different eyes. Now, it is in the Senate, and they had some questions. I'm all willing to answer those questions. We want to come forward with a bill that helps protect young ladies. But in any event, it doesn't need to die. Whatever the issues are, if we wait 6 months before we come back into session and we do another bill, and it's another year before we get something out, then you've got a whole year of young ladies who continue to be abused, who don't have the help that they need. And that's just inexcusable. We've got to be able to get 1559 passed so we can help these young ladies who need the help. That's one thing that we're looking at. Another thing that we're looking at is some workforce development stuff. We've been very focused on that, especially now in light of the pandemic. It even becomes more important. So there's some issues with some of the bills we're trying to work on there. Those are two of the things that come to mind that are very important bills that I think need to get passed.